What is going on, everyone? We are back with This Week in the House of Fraud, where we catch up with what our fraud experts and fraud leaders are talking about today. The House of Fraud is where fraud experts go to build a successful career together. It's an invite-only community for fraud experts. Build meaningful relationships with experts who understand your specific day-to-day and headaches. No more struggling alone as you navigate your career. You are joined today by myself, Brian, the founder of the House of Fraud, and Jordan Harris. We have a special guest today to kind of lead us through a new type of fraud or a nuanced bit of a fraud scheme. So Jordan and I talked about this a little bit last week, and
I think I got some stuff wrong.
Yeah.
So we actually invited the person who posted about it to come and kind of clear the air on the stuff I got wrong, because I don't want to be wrong. I want to give everybody accurate information. I want to be right all the time. I think I pride myself on always being right. But we got Tammy Dahl here. Tammy, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm very well. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on super short notice, because this is a weekly show. So we kind of pinged you about it. Got it scheduled up. Brian was out this last weekend, so we got it scheduled up in the last 12 hours, or 24 actually. So here you are. If you could, I kind of talked about checks last week, and the resurgence of checks has been a theme on a couple of episodes that I've done on my show. But with you have kind of a new thing, a new fraud, as Sardine says, a new fraud has dropped. If you could kind of run us through this new scheme that you're seeing as it relates to businesses and checks, that would be super helpful for us.
Well, basically what I discovered, I'm going to say probably about 6 months ago, businesses being open, like business accounts being open, and I'm terming it business hijacking, because there's really no typology that has a name yet to it. So I coined it. So you've got either, I believe, a complicit mule or someone that is just absolutely has no idea what's going on. They come in, they file a business. So they are in our state. They register the business with our Secretary of State. They go into a financial institution, and this is happening in several financial institutions. It's community-wide right now. So they go into the financial institution, they open the account. Of course, the first thing that's verified in account documents is Secretary of State business docs and the docs that are provided, etc. So after the account is open for about a week, we see a check deposit, a very large check deposit. The thing is when you're looking at the check, it matches the business name. It truly is an authentic check. It's paid for an invoice. So you see a large company paying this other company an invoice. However, the address on the check in the payee does not match the business entity that was just opened. So I've noticed, I did a Google search, did some other searches, and have found these businesses are very large in other states.
Oh.
So they're being, coerced to open business account, and then these checks are coming in and they're not charging back. So thankfully I've been able to get in there and fold everything, open lines of communication, etc. So we're seeing that. And then the other typology that we're seeing is business hijacking within the state. So someone actually going in and changing the registered agent, officers, etc. within the state. Everything changes, amends the corporation, comes in, opens an account, and again, deposits the check. That's authentic. So it's great.
That's okay. There's a couple things in there. That's super crazy to me. First of all, I just did a registered agent change on my own business. I switched accountants and I got a new accountant, and I was shocked that it was just required her to send a document in that I had to sign. And then it was just done. Like, that was it. And then now she's getting all the mail. She's getting all my benefits mail, all those sorts of things. She could do a lot of different things. She could sign up for credit cards, all that stuff with my business, just because she's the registered agent on there. And it took literally one single piece of paper with one signature on it sent into the Secretary of State. So the other thing that I'm thinking about is, like, These these people are basically they're pretending to be the original business, right?
Correct.
And then they're asking for invoices or writing a fake check from. Are they writing a fake check from an existing business?
The
So
check are legitimate checks that have been stolen. So first thing,
okay.
mail fraud.
So if like someone wrote Fraudboxer a check for
Yes,
my business, they would deposit it into their own account as if they were Fraudboxer also on
correct.
there. Got
Yeah.
it.
So okay. So now that puts me down in a different avenue. Obviously, like there's a lot of mail theft that at least like what I curate on my own LinkedIn of different mail theft gangs in different regions of actually targeting and going after areas where they have an idea of a lot of checks are coming through. I know, Jordan, we've talked about it in the past of like another time, like with USPS of being able to see what is coming in your mail with account takeovers and that taking over someone's account and being able to
Informed
see
delivery.
like,
Yeah.
yes, that's
If
the
your
one.
email's been taken over, everybody knows exactly what mail you're getting when you're getting it. That's why, like, I know, like, a lot of people, if you go on like these local like buzzes, like we have like our town buzz, they'll be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, my mail's been stolen." Everybody's like, "You should sign up for informed delivery." Years and years and years ago, Brian Krebs did a whole deep dive on that too, saying, "Do not sign up for that because the second your email's compromised, everybody knows when checks are coming, when credit cards are coming, everything." And I mean, mail theft right now goes beyond just like opening up a mailbox while on the street. We had just yesterday a full blown UPS man or a USPS man held at gunpoint and had his keys stolen here in LA. So yes, don't sign up for informed delivery, everybody. Don't do it.
But that makes it hard. And then it gives because the amount of information that is typically on checks as well is enough to reverse engineer to find additional information to be able to open up an account like this. So then that brings up the nuance. Are they mules? Are they just reverse engineering the information that's there? Obviously, there's complexities in all of that, especially if you have legitimate information. The original source does not know that their information been compromised. I mean, that's the issue with any ATO or new account identity theft. Like if the individual is unaware, until they're aware, a lot of damage can be done. And it makes it hard for fraud teams and companies to be able to have the visibility in it of being like, is this Jordan as fraud boxer legitimately? Or is it not Jordan the fraud boxer, but has all the correct information?
There's only one. I'm like
I am
Highlander.
Jordan Harris.
So yeah, Tammy, any thoughts on any of that, like informed delivery or anything there?
Not necessarily. I think I think it goes back to obviously fraud happens. We see different things all the time. Typologies change all the time. New typologies come into place. But I think a lot of time the front lines need to be educated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it was many, many years ago when you start, when I first started out in the banking industry, I was 18 and you had to know somebody to get inside, working at a bank if you didn't have experience. So, I was 18 and I'm going to be 53 tomorrow. So,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
so, I mean, everything has evolved so much over the decade. And it's not, you can't just hire somebody with cash handling experience and no knowledge and think that 2 weeks in a training program is gonna, you know, and like,
Yeah.
there's so much more. And that front line is our first line of defense. And people are missing it, across the community. People are missing it because they're not knowing to go back and look. For example, when a business account is open, okay, if it's an established business, we'll go back to the previous annual report. Have there been any changes? Look at those things, different things that you can kind of catch to begin with before it starts whole crazy.
That's a great segue there because I was going to ask, like, is there anything that can be done or is being done that you're aware of outside of just education to slow this behavior, mitigate it, or is it so new that it's just becoming aware of and you guys are trying to figure things out as an
I think
industry
it's just
whole?
a new typology, and people are seeing it after the damage is done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
have
mean,
to get it added to the fraud typology doc within the community of just like the running list of different fraud typologies. So then can kind of give like a little bit of a breakdown to people within that resource in itself of
yeah,
business
I think
hijacking.
that, I mean, it's, I mean, it definitely makes sense because, fraud tends to, I was reading that report. It's the Revolut report. Again, I keep coming back to that, where they were like saying how much fraud has dropped and how these other, like the rise of the scam is again. And it's not just the pig butchering scam. It's like job scams are huge right now. And all these other scams, and it makes sense. And they say that they're attributed to we're getting so much better in like this e-commerce industry as stopping credit card fraud that the fraudsters are going to these other channels to try and find where the money is. But it makes sense. Like, I mean, I've worked at business before where we've had fake invoice come in and a wire go out for 50 grand. And why try and get $500 to get a GoPro for free when you can get 50 grand by sending one fake invoice in 15 minutes and you're gone in the wind, you know?
Yeah.
It makes absolute sense to then take it a step further, register a fake business that's the same business, and then just start stealing those checks that you've already stolen. I mean, you can register a business in 20, 30 minutes these days, and then you just got to wait for the paperwork to go through. And 2 weeks later, you have a business, at
Yep.
the end of the day. And then like, you don't got to worry about paying taxes because they ain't going to come get you at the end
And
of the
I've
day.
noticed one of the things that I've noticed too is the issue date of the check are prior to the actual business being established. So that keys me into they know the check is, or the person that has stolen the check, they know exactly what to set up. So they,
That's a very interesting tell there too for anybody that handles checks that listens to this. That's now aware of this. Like, look for the business registration date. Like all of our registration dates, at least in California, my business registration date is right there online.
yeah.
It
Yep.
tells you the day that it happened. So if there's a check that's issued before that, and you're trying to worry about making a payment to it, like or a deposit on it, there's
Well,
your tell
I
right
also
there.
think it from like the rules technology standpoint of especially with the OCR technology being able to read deposit is coming through. Depending on how the check is uploaded, you probably have an image of it. The image can pull off what is written on it. And if you're able to have like now this is where it gets complicated because not a lot of teams have the ability to probably compare these data sets, but being able to literally do exactly what you said of saying this check is before the business registration date. If these are meeting that criteria, then we want Brian to review these. Like, so it specifically goes to Brian, and then you can have a team triage it, whatever. But I think about that at like, how can you do this at scale? If you learn something manually and you're getting hit by it, what can I do to make sure I send my best team to be able to look at it? The hard part is those two data points are probably coming from two completely different systems, tooling that have very difficult for a lot of teams to kind of combine within it. So that's just where I think about now how to solve this problem of like uh, what you said, Timmy, of like if it's a company that is putting someone with no experience on the line, and especially if we're able to identify if this, then that, and it becomes like a check the box review thing for frontline people that don't have experience, that can be replicated by a tool or system. And then that's put into like a grouping, a batch, case management, escalation, whatever you want to call it, and however your processes work. So then we can make sure the right people are getting it and we don't fall for like a new employee who's not ramped up yet. And then you can use those cases to then train people on it. So then you're able to look for other patterns or look for ones that the tooling doesn't detect or didn't detect correctly. So then you can train the human intelligence and train the artificial intelligence. So that's how I think about it too, of like what data points are out there that I can determine a pattern and I can choose what route I ultimately want and who I want kind of looking at it.
So, anything else about that, or should we tell everybody that wants to know more, come into the House of Fraud?
That's exactly
And
right.
yeah, well, thank you for joining us and telling us about that. You're going to hang out for a couple more minutes while we go on to the next part too, right? Because Brian says he's got something for us.
I mean, it's just a topic that comes up. So this is a topic And I dropped a resource yesterday for this. This is a template that I use for it. But really, most one-on-ones suck. It's as simple as that. Of like,
Like doing one-on-ones with your employees?
yep, yep. They all kind of end up as like a, hey, task. What'd you do this week? All right, great. Have a great day. And it's a lot of times very, very tactical. So, I mean, I didn't create this. This is like kind of pieced together a couple different things. So this is
This looks like
from
Chat GPT.
what?
Kidding. I said this looks like Chat GPT. Just kidding.
This came from a boss of mine pre-Chat GPT. So it's 3 Ps for the people who aren't familiar with it. It's not necessarily like a lot of people use it or use some formation of it, but progress, plans, problems, or some variation of
All right.
that. And the idea of that is get the manager, me, Brian, in the know of my team of what they're working on, what they plan to kind of attack, and what's blocking them. And then it allows a little bit more structure in the one-on-one to be like, all right, let's focus on this instead of just doing a checklist of, Brian, what'd you do this week? So there's now 2 ways to go about this, is not every manager is going to feel comfortable doing that. Not every manager, there's a lot of spreadsheet managers, there's a lot of people who micromanage. So with those personalities, it makes it really hard, and that's why a lot of one-on-ones simply are awful. It's a bad experience, and you leave your one-on-one being like, "Why do I do this
Yeah.
weekly to myself?" So the challenge here is if you are the manager and you feel like your one-on-ones are so mundane and useless and your time could be used elsewhere, try something like this. So it gives you a little bit of like guardrails. It puts the onus on the employee to come prepared to the meeting of like, hey, I'm blocked on this. Let's figure this out. So then we can be tactical on something specific versus check the box. Or, hey, what are we planning? What are we seeing? Especially in fraud, like, hey, emerging trends. I'm starting to research this. I need to balance my resources. So you can make tactical decisions with that without checking the box on everything. The
Yeah.
other
So
way is if you do want to propose this to your manager, I bet you they will still appreciate it, even if they're a spreadsheet leader and a micromanager. You might need to massage the format a little bit, but you give them more visibility. You show you're being proactive into tracking and using all of this. The bonus point of when I like and recommend this to people, would use this a lot to help people get raises and promotion. Why it works is we have this running almost weekly journal of what people have done. Most people in the company don't have a log like this. So when it is time for promotions, raises, everything is sort of like this, I can work with the employee, massage that into super compelling evidence and be like, it's a no brainer for Jordan to be the one getting something more than that
damn right.
pathetic merit bonus. And then I have all these cool projects that you probably forgot about that sound really, really good. And you can just run through that. Bonus points also, if you're looking for a job, you can go run back on that. And you can also use that in your resume to be like, what have I worked on that this company is looking to hire for? I didn't really think this was that important, but I actually did it. And this is what happened. And then I can now put this on my resume. So you don't really have to rework through all that. That's what I use. My one-on-one style, I would do these weekly. And then once a month, I do like an hour block with each one of my employees of like only career focus, where they want to go. Are there conferences? Do they want to be speakers? Do they even want to be in this field? Okay, you don't even want to be in this field. What skills can we work on in this role to help you actually grow and be excited to be a part of this team versus try to quit yesterday? So then it's like, I know even if people want to be in the job, they're probably still going to be looking for a new role within the next 12 to 24 months. So it doesn't matter if they want to be in the field or want to grow. What can I do with my time here with you to get you the skills you need to get to the next step? So I would always do that once a month. So I'd combine the 3 Ps with that like hour forward thinking block. That's my rant and rave on how to make one-on-ones not suck. But I'm curious about
Yeah.
how you two lead one-on-ones or partake in one-on-ones in either direction. Because look, I everyone, unless you're a CEO running your own company, if you're working in a role, a company, you probably have a boss and you probably are doing it. And there might be components of it that you're like, I like this, but not that. So how can it be more productive? So you're not just showing up to your one-on-one and both you and your boss, without saying it, are saying, that's not worth my time. That could have been an email.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, man.
Mhm.
A lot in there.
Okay.
So, I mean, I do my one-on-ones. I kind of follow a structure, not as formal as this. I do ask, what's been going on this week. I don't ask like, what did you do this week? I try to, I feel like it's micromanaging and I don't like to be that guy. Now, I usually have a pretty good idea of what people are working on. But I always tell my staff in the servant leadership style, like I exist to remove blockers for them to do their role. So usually my one-on-ones are like, what's affecting you negatively, essentially, like
Yep.
whether that be at work, whether that be even home emotionally. Like we have a very in touch workplace. I know it's the modern style, so we get to talk about our feelings, so people get to talk about if they're upset about something, because that does affect your day. Whether you can't, there's no more check your baggage at the door anymore.
Yep.
Like if someone's having problems at home or someone's having problems, like they got in a car wreck, and they deal with insurance, like that's going to affect their lives. And I try to be as understanding about that as possible. So my job is like, hey, in a one-on-one is what can I do anywhere to make your day easier to accomplish your job. Now I do use that time to set goals, ask for certain things, set expectations. Sometimes those expectations aren't always delivered. So you have to have those conversations and say, hey, you gave me this, but I expected this. This is why, like a lot of times, I don't know how other people do it, but I like to, if I give somebody a task or I'm working on a task for somebody, I like to do mini check-ins, whether they like it or not. Hey, I'm working on that document right now. So far, it looks like this. Is this what you're thinking? Because I hate to try and like come all the way to a meeting and prepare something and it's not even what they were looking for. So I do like little mini check-in, like roadmap along the road to get there. Um, and I expect like my team to be doing that sort of thing in these one-on-ones. Now I do like this template,
Do
like
they
the
know
three
that?
P's are
I
cool.
mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
working with you, but as someone new comes on, like, do they know you're going to check in?
Um, yes. So I'm like this all the time. So I'm always explaining myself to them. Um, and I'm pretty easygoing on the ramp up to expectations, but I make my expectations known. Like we just hired a new gal a couple weeks ago to do. She's our new frontline manual reviewer. She works weekends, and she knows like probably from day one that like don't be late to Jordan's meeting. That's like my one big thing is you're never late to my meeting. Like you work from home, there's not a lot happening unless you tell me, oh my god, the pipes are exploding, and you tell me ahead of time I'm going to be late because I got the plumber here. Cool, I could do that. But if there's no reason and I see you like in the chat doing your normal thing and you're late to my meeting, I'm gonna call you out when you join, and then your manager is probably gonna talk to you. But I'm pretty good at setting expectations and doing informal meetings and getting my people to feel comfortable working for me, even if it's skip level down. Um, Now I'm doing a big restructuring on my team right now, so like the whole dynamic is going to be changing. Like it literally gets submitted into Workday. But I do think that what you said in your speech there about documentation is great. So I like this three P's document. I personally do. I think it's progress, problems, plans. I think that's great. What have how have you been doing? What are some issues and how are we going to resolve them? Basically, is how I'm thinking about this. Now, I would say like loosely, I structure my one-on-ones pretty much like that. The documentation piece is, I think, something that like most of us can always be better at because usually you have your annual review and your mid-year review are your only documentations of any sort of
Yeah.
write-ups or anything like that. I'm trying to get better at sending emails after reviews if there's something more formal in there to have that documentation. So if I need to take any action, whether negative or positive, as doing a promotion, because you can't promote someone that's meeting expectations. So if you put 6 months ago, they're meeting expectations and now they're crushing it and you ask for a promotion for them, you're just not going to get it approved because they're
Yeah.
just meeting their expectations of their job. They're not doing anything extraordinary. Why should they be getting promoted? So, and I think people need to understand that. I know we're butting up on time here, but people need to always understand, like, in order to get a promotion in reality, you need to be operating at the promotion level for 6 months. Like, I can't promote you and then have you start to do the job. I need proof that you're able to do the job. And I know, like, in this 2024 quiet quitting at your wage world, that goes counterintuitive, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to promote somebody that's just doing the bare minimum and then clocking in and clocking out. Like, that's fine if you want to stay in your job. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You could stay in that role forever and ever and ever doing that. But if you want more, you got to show me you can do more. And I'm not going to pay you to do more only to have you fail. And then we have to have a different conversation, because then you're not eating at all. You'd lose that other wage you had before if I got to go with a different direction. So sorry, people. Acting your wage gets you your wage, but going above and beyond is how you get to the next level. And I just promoted a guy on my team. He's been crushing it so far at his new role. He was crushing it before. It's like we made the right choice. So
I think we'll kind of talk about that another week of like how to get promoted. I know there's always perspective of business politics, but at least of like how you can work with someone to help build the case of actually getting them promoted.
yeah,
Because promotion, depending on the company, depending on the structure, like can be so nuanced and extremely political in some cases. But I think as working with teams and working with individuals, I think there's a lot to explore there. But
so
Tammy,
Tammy,
anything you would like to add before we hop off today? I appreciate you coming on and kind of breaking down business hijacking for us. I'm going to get that uploaded to the fraud typology tracker within the community so people can have access to that and learn a little bit more about it. But anything else you'd like to add before we hop off today?
No, this has been great. It's been nice meeting you guys, I guess. It's really awesome. You guys have really I love the House of Fraud. Even though I'm a BSA AML analyst, I do a lot where I work, and I've outgrown my role, but unfortunately there's nowhere for me to go at this point. But I've become a student, and I made myself a student, and I continue to do that. So I'm thankful that, you guys are here and offer what you do. Thank you.
I think that's the whole point of this, because navigating a fraud career is nearly impossible because no one goes to school for fighting fraud.